we're going to be assembling the Bunny Box storage unit. And just for your information, we highly recommend that you use wood glue when assembling these sets. It not only helps with the longevity of the product, but also helps to keep things together, especially when a product like this will be carrying a lot of weight with it. Just for the ease and sake of time, we're not going to be using wood glue in this video, mostly so that you don't have to spend 10 or 15 minutes fast forwarding to watching the nice, wonderful process of watching it dry. But I will be pointing out areas that I think that will be good to glue while you're putting in each piece. Because of the number of pieces that are here, I don't have them all visible right now, but I will walk them through them really quick here. So this is the floor piece, the base piece at the very bottom. These pieces here are going to be on the inside wall that run along this direction here. These are also the center walls on the first floor of the storage unit, and they'll be placed right down this way. And in between is going to sandwich this locking mechanism that will walk through it. This is the lower level of the locking mechanism, and this is the kind of the higher or the upper sliding lock piece. For the second floor on the outside, we have the back wall, and then we have the front wall. This is the lid that will go on top. There'll be two of these small pieces that you want to be delicate with, and this is basically will also sandwich the lid, so the lid will be placed right in between. This is the second story floor, or the ceiling to the first floor. And then the last two pieces are going to be the side walls. Very similar. You'll just notice that in the middle there's one spot that's a little bit bigger of a cutout than the other, and I'll show you when we get to that step where to place that. All right, so the first step, these inside walls, there are two. They're similar in nature, and you can't get them wrong. So pick a side on each side. They'll both be covered up on the outside, so you won't quite see them. But you'll want to make sure that when you're inserting them, you're putting them to make sure that this hole here is facing up, because you're going to be putting things over on top of it. So this part is going to be facing up when you're inserting it. When putting glue, I would recommend, just like I would every time, on the joints, just the parts that are lower, place glue on each of those, and then you'll just want to insert it right in there. And a lot of times when I'm pressing down, make sure it's straight up and down. You don't want to be cracking it from side to side. And then for this piece, once I do push this through, you'll notice that there are a couple pieces that are sticking out the bottom. For any of those that got the Bunny Keep, this is going to be an important aspect to be able to lock in the boxes so they can actually stack on top of each other and won't wiggle left or right. But without a Keep, again, it's going to act as feet. I'll give a little bit of elevation, but won't change anything. Same thing here. Place some glue on the inside joints right in this place, and then go right alongside with it. All right, so once we have our inside walls all finished, we're going to start with the sliding lock mechanism. So of these two pieces that came in, the only thing I want to note is that there's two different sides. There's one that has kind of a semicircle on one side, and one that just kind of looks very similar, just has a couple pieces that are kind of sticking out. It doesn't matter which way you end up wanting to put it. It only matters that when you do make that choice, all the other pieces need to be going the same direction. So for this video, we'll be assembling in this direction. Just make sure everything else is going that same way. When placing it inside, I place glue on these long pieces right in there's 3 spots here you can place glue. And if you wanted, you could put maybe a small little dab on the outside as well, but for the most part, that should do the trick there. And then when placing it, there's a few rows here. And so this first row of dotted is what you're gonna be looking for at the very top. The second one is gonna be for one of our sliding locks. And this third row here is gonna be for the second piece of this that we're gonna be putting in. So for this one, look for this, the one that's the furthest away. Again, doesn't matter which side, just pick a side that you want to place it on, because we're basically just building around it. And don't worry about the clicking sounds. Crackling is okay. It's just the joints pushing in place. All right. Now, once we have that in place, we're going to be putting the sliding lock, the lower portion of that sliding lock in place. Now, it looks very similar, but you're going to have two spots, indentations that are a little bit bigger here. And this third one doesn't go as far. So you want to make sure that that piece that isn't going as far is actually going to be towards the end with the semicircle. So wherever you place that semicircle piece, you want to make sure that this sliding lock piece, the one that's a little different, is on the same side. And then before you place it inside, again, just a little glue on all the parts that are flat on the bottom there. And then there'll be little notches on the bottom right underneath this wall where they'll be placed inside. All right, once that's in place, we'll have our third wall here. Again, making sure that this semicircle piece is on the same side as we assembled before. And we're going to slide it right in. These little notches here being the parts that will slide over these inside walls, and then placing glue on the bottom there before we place it inside. And again, there'll be little notches in the floor piece that these will snap right into. All right, so now we've sandwiched the lower sliding lock piece between the two center walls. And the last step is going to be the upper sliding lock piece that we're going to just simply, no glue, just slide right over. Now the part, you'll notice here that it looks very similar, but there's one spot here that sticks out a little more. We want that side to be opposite of where the little circle pieces are from the center walls. So it's going to be just like this when we slide it in. All right, perfect. And so when you do slide it in, it's going to nestle right inside, and it will be trapped in place later on with other pieces to kind of secure it. And so then what it ends up doing is, we'll kind of show it off at the beginning here, is this semicircle place. You just simply slide your finger along there, and this will actually enact there to be unlocking of the draw towers that go in. And then the draw towers, they'll actually go inside of there. When you press this back over, will actually be locked in place so that they won't be going anywhere. Unlock, and then locked. All right, so the next step that we're gonna do is the side walls. Now these side walls are gonna be tall enough for both levels, but this will kind of help create the first layer and finish it off. And so what I usually like to do is, first and foremost, there are two different pieces here to note. And so what we've done is we put our little logo. We tend to like to have those on the outside of the box. And so the piece that is a little more skinny here, you're going to want to put on the side of the center wall that has the skinny piece. And then the piece that has a bigger circle in the middle, that's going to match this semicircle piece that's over here. So the skinnier piece cut out of the side wall, we're going to put on this side. And it's simply just going to be placed right along here. Oh, I did forget a step right before. We do want to actually place the floor right before we get to the side walls. I did forget one important piece. That's going to be this floor piece for the second floor. And the reason it's important is because before we put in place, we actually want that center wall to actually be pushed in place when we're putting these walls on. So before you get to that, real quick, you want to make sure that this piece is actually just sandwiching on top. Basically what you're gonna be looking for is these center pieces here are gonna follow these center walls, these notches, and then these spots here are gonna nestle right on top of these inside walls. Now, whenever I'm placing a piece like this, I always like to make sure to put the glue on the pieces that I'm actually gonna be placing on top of. So you wanna put a little bit of glue there, there, just along all of these spots here. And then on these long sections here as well, just some glue. It doesn't need a ton, just enough, just a little bit so that I kind of can sit on top of those on the edge of that piece there. Now, whenever I'm working with multiple pieces, I do find it to be somewhat challenging to make sure that it's all lined up. So take your time when pressing it on. And I always like to work on one wall at a time and almost kind of do work your way down the piece itself. So work from one edge and then work your way down until you got everything lined up. And same thing on this side. Start from one edge, get them lined up, and then push them down. And then just do one more sanity check. I usually like to press right around the joints. You don't want to press far away from them. Again, you don't want to be snapping the wood where it might still be weak and vulnerable, but right next to where the joints are, it's going to be very strong. And kind of like popcorn, if you don't hear any more cracking after a while, you should be good to go. All right, now let's get to that step I was jumping into. So that's going to be the side wall. And again, this piece here that does not have the semicircle pieces is going to be the one that has a smaller piece right here in the middle. And we're just going to place it right in there. So basically the lower part, the floor, is going to snap into here. And then the floor of the second level is going to snap all along this spot here. So like we did when we were putting the last piece on, I like to place the glue in the joints on the inside pieces there. No need to kind of put any glue down there in the middle, just those two spots there. And then basically this will be the part that kind of, it comes in here a little bit to kind of help with the draw towers as you're pulling them in and out, is going to be on the first level. And then like we did before, I'm going to kind of work my way through. And then slowly kind of work everything in place. This part will be a little tricky because you've got three pieces trying to fit in one little square, but just give it time. You don't have to be too forceful, but really do try to line everything up first. And sometimes you see how I kind of have the box set down on a strong table. Sometimes it's just a matter of putting a little bit of pressure in it. But make sure it's lined up first, because you can put a lot of pressure and it's not going to give until it's lined up there. All right, one side done. All right, so let's work for the other side. So again, the side with the semicircle over here is going to be the location for the other side wall piece that has more of a circular hole in the center there. And same process here, where we're going to place glue on the inside of these joints. Just a little dab to kind of hold everything in place. And then we're going to work our way down just like we did before. And just do a quick check, make sure everything was locked in place. All All right, looks good. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of visual of this locking, so this outside piece here gives you a chance to kind of be able to push it in, and it'll actually pop out on that side. And so what that will do on the inside, you can notice, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's all clear and open. And then as you slide it in, there's gonna be pieces in there on the inside that will lock those draw towers in place. We'll have another video to kind of demonstrate how all of that works in another one, but just wanted to show you that you did it right. If you see that it's flush here, and then when you push it out, it'll show out, and it'll stick out on the other side there. And then you can press it in. All right, now that we've got the first floor and the sidewalls all done, we're gonna finish it by adding the two remaining walls for the second floor, and then the lid holder and the lid itself. It is important to note that when you have gotten to this point, that the front wall will actually be on the side, although they look very similar, the side that's rounded and just basically flat up and down on this side. This will be the side where the front wall will be. The back wall will be on this side that has a little notch on the one side. So again, just pay very close attention to note that the side that has a little notch and it doesn't go all the way straight to the top is gonna be where the back wall is going. And of course, the very flat top is gonna be where facing the very top. So again, rounded, straight, no notches on the corner is gonna be for the front wall. The little notch is gonna be for the back wall. Now I recommend before you get started on putting the walls to actually place the lid holders first. They are extremely fragile because they're little pieces, so I would recommend these next couple of steps be very delicate. So when you're placing the front wall, then note too, there should be two of these. You want this side to be facing towards where you're gonna be building the front wall. So again, the front wall is gonna be the side that is rounded and does not have an edge on it. And so this side is gonna be facing this side that front wall is gonna go into. But first what we're gonna do is we're gonna place these lid holders on and insert them on these two side walls. You'll notice the side walls have two rows of notches going along the inside here. These are gonna be for the two levels of these lid holders that you're gonna be placing inside. This first one is gonna be on the lower rung here of notches, and that's what we're gonna be placing in first. So when putting in the glue, again, just on the inside notches here, place glue all the way on the inside, on both sides, all along the sides here. And then there's a little bit of flexibility, but again, be extremely careful. You don't want to bend these too much. And then we just want to work one side and then the other. You can push them on the side like that, or sometimes what I'll do is I'll even just kind of, with my index finger and thumb, and just kind of press them inside. Oh, but make sure you're working on the right floor, right? So we're gonna be on the second floor here. And slowly working them in. And it's okay if you need to take a little bit extra time. Again, we'll be extremely delicate with these. All right, just make sure they're all secure and tighten there. Good. All right, and then the second step, you'll actually want this to be going the opposite direction. And so it's gonna be the second layer, but it's going to be going the opposite direction. So whereas this first one was pointing towards the front wall, this one will be pointing to where we eventually will be putting the back wall, which also, again, as a reminder, has this little notch here on the back end and not the rounded edge. But this is where the back wall is gonna be. So the second or the higher of these two lid holders is gonna be pointed towards the back of your box. And same process where you wanna put glue on the inside notches on both sides. And then slowly and very carefully, again, just working it one side to the other on that upper row on the side walls. So once you have both of those in place, you'll notice they have a little bit of a gap there, and that, at the very end, that's where the lid will kind of slide in. It'll actually slide in on this side and basically get stopped by that back wall, so it doesn't keep sliding through. All right, so let's put the back wall on first. So basically what I would do, I'd recommend putting glue all along the notches here on all 4 sides that go along this floor piece, the 2 side walls, and this higher lid holder. And again, note the back wall is gonna be placed on this side of the sidewall that has the notch in it. Now the back wall piece is gonna look like this. It's a little different. You'll notice this is the front wall piece. The back wall piece is a little different. You can notice it has notches running along the top there. So that'll be the indicator that that's what this is for. And like our other products too, this flat side is going to be on the top. And then you'll just want to work on one side and work around the edges. And again, I recommend being extremely careful when you're pressing it inside of the lid holder pieces because those tend to be a little bit more fragile. So you want to be careful as you're pushing them in. I would add support again with the thumb and index finger so that you're not pressing just down, but you're almost pinching as you're putting that part in. So the last side that we're going to put on the box is going to be the front wall. Now this front wall looks very similar, but again, there's a slight difference and there's a notch on this one row at the very edge, and this edge actually goes all the way to the edge. So you want to make sure that this part here is actually on top or facing the very top of the bunny box when you're putting it together. And then this part that has a notch on the bottom row is on the bottom. So this part that's flat on the top that goes all the way to the edge is going to be towards the top. And same process that we did with the other side. We want to put glue on the inside notches all the way along there. All the way on the inside notches all along here. And then same process where we're going to put, making sure that this is on the top here that goes all the way to the edge. And I'm just going to slowly work it around. And then again, once we get to the part with the lid holder, I would recommend again just snapping it together with your fingers like you're pinching. And not putting a lot of pressure because you don't want to snap that guy. And then putting all the pressure along the joints there to make sure it's nice and snug and fitting nice and snug. All right, looks like we got it. Last part is just getting the lid, which should be pretty straightforward. And basically all it does is just kind of slides right in. And there you go. You got yourself a bunny box.